Have to come up with a new name to combine them both, huh?
Geiwitz.
Right. Yeah, riots. Yeah, Geiwitz. Yeah, very good. I like it. Yeah, our beautiful city is absolutely a mess.
Downtown Portland's
really
not pretty either.
Oh, yeah, I saw it on the news. It's everywhere. I've got customers that live back in New Orleans and Dallas, and it's the same everywhere. People are afraid to go out of their houses, and it's just the country's. And I'm an older guy, so I went through the Vietnam War protest and Martin Luther King and all that stuff, and I've never seen anything like this. So I'm glad you guys are safe down there in Vancouver.
Yeah, we're just far enough away from Portland that things are good.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. So the meeting's going to start here in another minute or so. But yeah, we don't know anybody that has the virus, but we know some friends that are 2 months behind in their house payment, a couple of months behind in their car payment because they're both unemployed. You know, they're in the restaurant business, so they're both unemployed. So they're really struggling with with this COVID-19 issue financially, and they got little kids running around too, so that even makes it worse.
Did stop playing with the dinosaurs under the table?
Hey everyone, this is Ryan. Good morning. Nice to see everybody. If you are online, if you can mute your line unless you're going to speak, that would be great. If I do a universal mute, then I have to find each one of you when you want to speak, and it's a little more difficult. So let's get started. Welcome everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Ryan McKinstry. I'm the Government Affairs Director here at the BIA of Clark County. I have a few friends online today to present and to speak to you. I will introduce one or two, and then some others will be introduced by my colleague, Andrea Smith. Just to start today, I want to give a quick little brief update because these started out actually as efforts to deal with the COVID and mainly to address the regulations, the requirements, progress of status and phases that we are dealing with in the construction industry. So just to start out with, we are waiting for phase 2 confirmation from the state. About a week and a half ago, the county put in a request for phase 2 to the state. Unfortunately, within hours of that request going into the state and possible acceptance of us going to phase 2, we had that large outbreak at the food processing facility. So we are in a hold pattern. I do know Dr. Melnick from our Department of Health is actively working with the state to get us up and running. There is a Department of Health meeting, so tomorrow, where maybe we'll hear some news regarding that. However, even if the county does not go to fully go to phase 2, we have put a request in, and we are getting tentative support from the council to maybe look at requesting a phase 2 for construction. They may be considering it for other industries, I don't know. That is actually allowed under the governor's new order that came out on Friday when he declined to renew the stay home, stay safe order. So that is definitely a possibility, and it's something the governor has created with his new order to allow certain parts of communities to move forward under phase 2 if the whole community is not there yet. Having said that, sometimes there's some questions regarding phase 2 or phase 1, where we're at, what needs to be done, what's going on. If you can save those for the end, that would be great, since we have a couple speakers I want to get to. They're kind of going to speak to the gist of what we're talking about today, workforce development, and what we see where we're at now and going forward. With that, I want to introduce Andrea Smith. She's our Communications and Education Program Manager. This is her area of expertise, or her ballywhack, I would say. She is responsible for our education efforts at BIA, whether it's internal or working with our education partners. And along the same lines, she's also responsible for working on the workforce front. So with that, Andrea?
Hey, thanks, Ryan. Welcome everyone to our workforce webinar this morning. We're going to kick it off first with Darcy from Workforce Southwest Washington, and then we're going to move to Melissa from the Home Builders Institute. So Darcy, I'm going to let you kick it off and introduce yourself and tell us what you do at Workforce and your presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrea. Hi, good morning, everyone. Can you all hear me okay? Or can somebody let me know you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I see a thumbs up. I got a yes, great. I'm gonna share my screen with you here in a moment. Maybe, bear with me. Oh, Ryan, can I share my screen so I can pull up a slide deck?
Oh, sorry, yes, I should, let's go here. There you go. I'm sorry, I thought that was already done. That should
That's
allow you
okay.
to.
No worries. Okay, let me get this other little screen out of my way. All right, hopefully you all can see that. And before I get started, let me give my usual, I have a really bad dog disclaimer, and she barks at everything. So if you lose sound on me for a minute, it's because I muted myself while she wraps up her temper tantrum, and I'll be right back with you. So, like Andrea said, my name is Darcy Hoffman. I'm the Director of Business Services at Workforce Southwest Washington. We're a nonprofit organization. We're one of 12 workforce boards here in the state. Through legislation, we are designated to oversee and invest in the public workforce system. And so for us, we serve Clark, Cowlitz, and Wahkiakum counties. So we fund programs that help support people in career progression, and also to help strengthen businesses here in Southwest Washington. We have a big focus on not just getting any job for people, but getting good jobs for people. And because of that, we largely focus on 4 high growth, high demand industries, construction being one of them. The others are healthcare, manufacturing, and technology. But obviously we're here to talk about construction today. I'm going to be really brief on these first couple of slides because I'm actually hoping to get into more of a conversation with the folks on the call today to see what I might be able to learn from you in terms of how we as your local workforce board can be supporting you and your workforce now and in the future. And I'm sure most of you on the call are very up to speed on a lot of this current labor market data and unemployment insurance information. But just a couple of things that I want to call your attention to. First of all, you can see in this chart here on the lower right-hand corner of my screen, these are new initial claims by week, unemployment claims, excuse me, by week since the onset of COVID. And you can see now, this is 2 weeks ago, they are dropping in terms of new unemployment claims that people are opening, which is a good thing. However, since the onset of COVID, at least since March 8th, we've had almost 70,000 people just here in Southwest Washington, so just Clark, Cowlitz, and Wahkiakum counties, open unemployment insurance claims. And as I'm sure you are also very well aware, that construction was one of the most hardest hit industries in our state in terms of volume of unemployment claims. So I'll reference these numbers probably a couple times during today's conversation, but just something to keep in mind. So what have we been doing so far to help companies get through this crisis? I would say since the onset of COVID, myself and my team have spent the majority of our time just working with companies one-on-one to help them better understand all of the options through unemployment insurance, to be able to pick their best path forward for themselves and their employees. That's taken up the bulk of our time. There's been so many resources coming at us and coming at you all, particularly things with unemployment insurance. You know, just a couple of weeks ago, we're changing almost daily, you know, earlier in the pandemic, almost hourly. So we did stand up a COVID business resource page to sort of validate and consolidate some of that information to make it easier for folks to find. And then on the flip side, we did have some industries who were actually ramping up hiring because of COVID-19. So we stood up just an immediate hiring needs page to help support some of those companies in getting the workforce that they need. And largely, if you look at the site, it's largely retailers and transportation distribution, which I'm sure is no surprise to anybody. Some of the other things, so we have applied for emergency funding to help support our workforce here. So there's 12 workforce boards in the state of Washington. We got together with the Employment Security Department and we've applied for 2 different rounds of emergency funding. Our state was awarded $12 million in the first round, which sounds like a big number. It's not that big when you have to split that up between the entire state of Washington. So we'll see what we end up with here in Southwest Washington. But that first round of funding is really designed to support a lot of our community-based organizations and the work that they're doing to support people who are in the most need. And then the second round of funding that we applied for, and I do anticipate we will probably get about another $12 million, will go directly to support both people and businesses. And we'll be able to do that through wage subsidy programs for companies who are rehiring their workers or looking at hiring new workers. We'll also be looking at different skills trainings programs that we can invest in to make sure that, you know, people have the skills that they need to either be a better candidate when they're called back to work or potentially to transition into another industry, which is also a part of what or a dialogue that I want to open up with you all today. And then looking at ways that if we don't have a training program that supports what it is that you need in terms of a workforce, what can we do to make that happen? So that's how we've been responding so far. And I will tell you, with the companies that we've been working with, it's like, you know, the house has been on fire. So there's not been a lot of conversations about what workforce looks like in the future. It's been more about, you know, how do we put the fire out and, you know, save ourselves and our employees. And so, you know, the conversation that I'm hoping to have with you all today is sort of a first step in thinking about what the future looks like and what we can do to support you. Okay, so thinking back to all of the people in Southwest Washington who have opened an unemployment claim, I think we potentially have an opportunity here to think about some of the industries that have been hit hardest that may take longer to recover and may look different when they recover. And so just as an example, for the purpose of today's conversation, I threw up some information about the accommodation and food services industry. So this is food services, hospitality, things like that. We have a big chunk of residents who've been, you know, negatively impacted, who were working in these industries. So we've got about 6,000 people here in Southwest Washington coming out of that industry. And then looking at a different data set in terms of earnings for people in food services and hospitality, you can see there's not a huge difference in entry-level earnings versus experienced earnings. So I pulled the same type of information for construction. And in construction, we have close to 5,000 claimants here in Clark County. But when we look at average annual earnings for construction, you see that there's a big difference between, you know, somebody who's working in an entry-level position versus somebody who, you know, has had some experience on the job, which again is one of the reasons why we want to focus on construction. That, and it's important to our region. You know, we'll always have the need for construction here. We've got to keep building homes and buildings and maintaining them and repairing them. And so just thinking towards the future, is now a good opportunity to maybe talk to some of these people over here in this category about what it might look like to pursue a new career pathway in construction. And there are certainly other industries and occupations outside of accommodations and food services that have been hit hard that we can think about. But this is just kind of an example of what we're thinking about, that, you know, maybe this is a good space for us to look at a new potential pipeline for industries like construction. So these are kind of some of the things that I'd like to talk with you all today and get a better understanding of how we can support you. I would say looking at at right now, what's challenging for me and for our organization with construction is that we've got roughly 7,400 construction firms in our region. And in that number, I'm including the Portland area, which is why it's so large. But 90% of our employment is in construction companies that employ less than 20 people. So, you know, construction is largely, you know, small businesses, which is great, but it makes it really challenging for us to have a good understanding of really who is hiring right now today and what positions are they hiring for. Because I don't think that that's necessarily the primary way that construction companies find their workforce. Is not through online job ads. And so if any of our contractors on the call today, you know, disagree with me on that, I want to hear it. But I think that's just one of the more challenging things about construction for us to like really have our finger on the pulse of who needs what right now. We have all kinds of, you know, access to data that can tell us about projections and the types of people that we'll need and how much money they can potentially make. But it's really important for us that businesses are in the driver's seat of these decisions that we make. And so would love to kind of get your take on that. And then thinking about the future, and when I say future, I mean like tomorrow, what are some things that we could be doing to support you to make sure that you do have the workforce that you need now and in the future? And so these are just some of the things that I've been thinking about, that I just thought I would put out there to maybe help start a conversation. But I'm absolutely open to you telling me that I'm way off base and there's something else that you need. I would love to hear that. So the first thing is pre-apprenticeship. So Southwest Washington really is lacking a lot of construction pre-apprenticeship programs. We do support the programs that we see in the Portland metro area, but is pre-apprenticeship something, is that a strategy that we could look at supporting and investing in here in Southwest Washington to you know, continue to work on creating a pipeline of workers for all of you? Are there other types of skills training or career exposure opportunities that we should be looking at? And then lastly, I kind of already touched on this, but looking at like a targeted marketing and communications campaign to reach out to the people who are in occupations and industries who've been hit the hardest and get them thinking about what a career in an industry like construction might look like. And I think for something like that, it's important that we're really specific with people. I think our usual strategy is, you know, hey, come to WorkSource and we can help get you connected to employment. And I think in this situation with this many people who are out of work, we need to look at having something really specific to offer them. And so this is careersnw.org. This is a website that we own with our workforce board partners in Portland. But I'm sort of thinking of something along these lines, but maybe a way that we could showcase various pathways in the construction trades for people, but maybe tailor it to them. So maybe we think about looking at the hard skills and soft skills that people coming out of food services or hospitality may already have that translate well to construction, and then think about how we show them the other opportunities that may exist in construction, and be specific about, you know, what your job might look like for the first year, for the next 3 years, and 10 years later. What are those opportunities? And even going as far as talking about specific companies here in our region that you may be able to work for and what they, you know, potentially have to offer in terms of employment and other opportunities. So with that, I think I would like to be quiet now and hear from some of the folks on the phone about, and just get your reactions to some of these questions that I've posed, and I'll take notes. And I know it's can be difficult to have these types of conversations in a group, let alone on a big Zoom call. And so I would also put it out there that I'm very happy to talk to any of you one-on-one after today's call. You're welcome to get in touch with Ryan or Andrea, and they can get you connected to me. But it's just really important to us that we have some solid employer advisors on our side as we look at developing some of these programs, just to make sure that we're on the right track and what we're doing truly meets your needs. So any thoughts from anybody on the call today? Any reactions to any of this stuff?
Darcy, I think we're all talking at the same time. Darcy, this is Debbie Smith. I just had a question.
Oh, wow.
Whoa, this is horrible. Sorry. I had a question about the incentive.
Deborah, if you're using a call-in and you're using your computer or something, one of them your sound has to be turned off on something. You've got
Let's see.
2 speakers or 2 microphones. Do you want, hey Deborah, would you like to just send a text question in?
Yes, I'll do that.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Well, that was unfortunate.
We will get you that question when it comes through,
Great.
Darcy.
Hey, Darcy, this is Al with Building Industry Association of Washington.
Hey.
Hello. So I just wanted to say that I think you're pretty well spot on about the pre-apprenticeship program. I just got in this position as the workforce development manager for BIW in January. So I've gone around the state. We have 15 associations throughout the state and over 8,000 members. The overwhelming majority told me that they would rather have somebody go through a pre-apprenticeship program, get the basic skills, maybe their first aid card, some safety stuff, that kind of thing. No basic tools, show up on time, right uniform, that sort of stuff. And then they'll teach them the rest. And so that's kind of what we've been working on. And, offline, I'll definitely get a hold of you. I actually didn't know that there were no pre-apprenticeship programs up there. We actually did just, and Andrea can talk about this too, and Ryan too, but one of the schools in Battleground, we just helped them set up a HBI program out there, which when those high school students graduate, they will have a nationwide recognized pre-apprenticeship certificate. So anyway, just thought I'd throw that out there, and I will be contacting you after this. Thanks.
That's awesome. Thanks, Al. And I don't want to say we don't have any pre-apprenticeship programs in Southwest Washington, because actually our K-12 institutions, and I know we have some on the call today. I think Washougal's here. I think I saw somebody from Vancouver here. The program that you just mentioned, Battleground High Schools. I think actually our K-12 institutions do have some opportunities for students to get sort of that, those basic skills in construction. I think what we're lacking is something outside of that for adults, or even for young people maybe who have already graduated high school or dropped out of high school or got their GED or whatever it is, who didn't participate in those programs when they were in high school. I think we're lacking something like that for residents here in Southwest Washington. But would love to have a follow-up conversation with you.
Thank you. It looks like we got that question from Deborah. So could you speak about the incentives for businesses? She also says, I know that small businesses were offered loans and other things, but ran out before a lot of businesses could access.
Yeah, sure. So in terms of our investments for employers who are looking at rehiring employees that they may have laid off during COVID, or for companies who are just looking at hiring new workers in general. So we've always had a program called on-the-job training, which is basically a partial wage reimbursement that companies can access when they're hiring new workers. We've never used this funding source for companies who are rehiring workers, because that's not a common thing. We've not seen this before. So just in thinking about how we might be able to support companies, I think we do have the potential to utilize that same type of a wage reimbursement to help companies maybe bring workers back a little bit quicker, as it's safe to do so, of course. Because we recognize that as employees return to work, work looks very different. And there's a lot of things that they need to learn to be successful on the job in today's environment. And so essentially what it looks like is we can reimburse 50% of their gross wages for the first couple of months as you're bringing them back on the job. There's some eligibility that goes into that on the employee side of things. But for the most part, if you've had employees that have been on layoff for at least 8 weeks, there's probably a good chance that they're eligible. And if you can help us look at what might be different on the job for them today than it was 2 or 3 months ago, I think it's definitely an option for companies to maybe help alleviate some of that pressure of bringing people back to work. And then we also have programs. I don't know that, you know, we're in the right environment for something like this to really be able to support many of you, but we also have programs for companies who are looking at upskilling existing employees. It's just a funding stream. We typically use it as a co-investment model alongside of companies. But if, you know, there are additional credentials or licenses or certifications that employees need to be able to grow in their job with your company, we have some financial resources available to support that as well. And I don't know if Susan Milkey is on the call today. She's with WorkSource, and I should have said this at the beginning of our conversation. So WorkSource really is the main focus of the public workforce system. So by far, it's our largest investment. So we oversee and invest in the service delivery that happens at WorkSource. So Susan Milkey is our construction lead at the WorkSource centers. And so she's really like the boots on the ground that's working with companies today in construction who are hiring people or rehiring people to help them get connected to these programs and these financial resources. So if you don't know Susan, I'm happy to introduce you. And if you do, feel free to reach out to her. Her and I work very closely together. Yeah. Other thoughts on any of this stuff? What do companies on the call think about looking at some of these people coming out of other industries who may have a tougher time returning? I mean, I'm imagining that industries like accommodations and food services might take a little bit longer to recover than other industries. And it may look different when they do recover. I think automation could potentially play a role in the types of workforce needs that these industries will have in the future. And so just curious to get some thoughts from the group on what you think about looking at some of these other industries and occupations as a potential pipeline for construction.
So this is Aaron Bouchain with AGC.
Hey, Aaron.
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good. First, thanks everyone for this call. I think it's great. I love the topic. And I want to say, Darcy, I think it's a great idea, and it's something that we've had similar conversations on as well. I think the challenge, at least for me at this point in thinking that through, is that I think the timing has to be right, because I would hate this to launch into a communications or marketing campaign and then there not be jobs there in the construction industry for those people, right? And I was on a call yesterday with a couple contractors, and while they're not seeing huge layoffs, they have also seen some projects slide out, and that is going to impact their ability to kind of bring on additional craft workers. And so I just think the timing has to be right, and really have to know from a contractor's perspective if there are going to be jobs out there. But I do see it as an opportunity, perhaps that the industry hasn't had before. Just the ability to do it right will be important. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, no, thanks. I really appreciate that. And I agree. I mean, that's kind of what I'm looking for today, and in the near future. Like, are there construction firms on the call now, even if you don't want to speak up on the call, but would maybe want to talk to me about it offline, that would be sort of that end user for the workforce system. You know, if we can do these things, if we can attract these people and prepare these people with the skills that you need, you know, are there opportunities for them? Okay, well, Andrea, maybe I will hand it back over to you. And again, I would just encourage any of the construction companies on the call today to maybe reach out to me if you want to continue this conversation, or just be a part of helping to, you know, advise us as we move forward and you know, do our best to make sure that some of these key, really critical industries have the workforce that they need, you know, tomorrow and in 6 months and in 12 months and in 24 months, but would love to, you know, talk to any of you offline about that.
Thank you, Darcy. Appreciate you being here.
Yeah. Oh, I need to unshare my screen. My apologies.
Alrighty. So yeah, if you guys have questions for Darcy and you don't have her contact information, feel free to reach out to me and I can get you connected. But to kind of change gears a little bit here, we're going to hear from Melissa from the Home Builders Institute, and I'll let her introduce herself.
All right, so I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Now I'm going to attempt to share my screen and see how this works. Okay. I think it will work here. Ooh, it says that I have to quit to be able to share my screen. Ryan, do you happen to have the PDF that I sent you that you could share for me?
I hear him in the office behind me, but he said try it again. He's on mute.
Okay, yeah, it just is, oh, yeah, there, I think it did work. So I'd rather have my PowerPoint over here. Okay, so you just see the screen, right? With the PowerPoint presentation up? Okay, great. Sounds good. So hello, my name is Melissa Geiwitz, and I am the Director of Industry and Academic Partnerships. And as the title suggests, I cultivate relationships between industry partners and academic partners, connecting them to the HBI PACT curricula and related services. I am here today to talk to you about HBI, the Home Builders Institute, our PACT curriculum, which stands for, and it's right there on the screen, pre-apprenticeship certificate training. So we've all been talking about pre-apprenticeship, and here it is. And also how we can work together to build a pipeline of students trained and ready to work in the construction industry. And thank you, Al, for mentioning the HBI program at the school. I'm hoping we can implement PACT at additional secondary and post-secondary schools. So just a little bit about HBI. HBI is a national leader for career training in the building industry. For more than 50 years, HBI has been preparing students for careers in the building and construction industry. HBI is an affiliate of the National Association of Home Builders, NAHB, their nonprofit and workforce development arm. HBI is headquartered in Washington, D.C., but HBI provides skills training and instruction to about 13,000 students annually in more than 275 programs across the country. As you can see here, HBI trains in 48 states. The only states that are without HBI training programs are South Dakota and New Hampshire. At the core of the HBI skills training experience is the patented pre-apprenticeship certificate training, or PACT, curriculum. It's endorsed and recognized by the National Association of Home Builders. HBI's PACT credentials are approved by the U.S. Department of Labor and aligned with the Residential Construction National Skills Standards. PACT is also vetted by subject matter experts, assuring that every student masters the knowledge needed for to be employed in an entry-level job in the building industry. HBI provides resources for career technical training instructors in school districts across the country to administer the HBI PACT curriculum. On this slide, you'll see HBI's 5 steps of service. The 5 steps of service model focuses on successfully connecting, assessing, training, certifying, and placing individuals in high growth construction career pathways. PACT is also aligned with the STEM model, so it's a curriculum based on 4 specific discipline areas: science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. HBI training programs are taught in local communities across the country, as you can see, to at-risk youth, veterans, transitioning military members, justice-involved youth and adults, and displaced workers. HBI's PACT program gives men and women who may have been disconnected from school or work an opportunity to explore industry careers and receive employability skills, training, and earn certifications. This slide just kind of lays out some of the HBI partnerships. We have, HBI currently has partnerships with secondary and post-secondary schools, as I mentioned earlier, re-entry programs, workforce programs, youth build programs, if you've heard of that, different nonprofits, and then also our state and local home builders associations as well. As you can see here, I just kind of laid out some of our units. So in Unit 1 of our PACT curriculum, we have an introduction to the building trades. Unit 2 is construction math. Unit 3 is all about tool identification and construction materials. Unit 4 is employability, so that resume writing, maybe some mock interviewing. Unit 5 is green building. And units 1 through 5 are known as our core, with green building as an optional unit. And the remaining units that are listed there are trade specific. So Unit 6 is carpentry, Unit 7 is electrical. We go into plumbing, brick masonry, landscaping, painting and finishing, building construction technology, weatherization, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. That's Unit 14, our last unit. All these areas afford graduates an industry-recognized certificate. The HBI PACT curriculum is flexible and customizable to meet the workforce needs of local communities and construction businesses. It can be adapted to training programs lasting a month to a year, even 2 years. You'll want to teach the units that make sense to you locally. The units can be taught in any order, but to earn a certification, students must complete the first 4 units, so our PACT core, passing 80% of competencies. I also just wanted to point out here that we've also added our curriculum and other resources to an online format. So individuals may still be served if they are not able to be on campus. If you want further information regarding this part in particular, it's called our learning management system. Please feel free to reach out. HBI training programs consistently benefit our graduates and their communities. There is certainly a workforce development initiative at work that is national in scope, but it is locally implemented in several workforce development environments. There's just a question here. Is your community facing a labor shortage? That's kind of the topic for today. So by using HBI's pre-apprenticeship certificate training or PACT curriculum, your school can equip students with skills for career success in the residential construction industry. As we know, there's incredible potential that exists for those given a hands-on learning environment, and PACT does deliver 75% hands-on competency-based education. But as I mentioned, we are adapting, and we've added that online curriculum as well for supplemental resources. The PACT curriculum is used to educate students about careers in the residential construction, give them a path to the building trades, and build up the industry workforce with skilled workers. The HBI Building Careers program provides a clear blueprint for CTE, or career and technical education, in secondary and post-secondary schools, meeting the need in the classroom and in the industry. HBI PACT builds our workforce and meets current industry best practices. So these figures here on the right, they lay out the earning potential for each career and other great information, such as estimated job growth. And that information can be found at nahb.org/trades. That's nahb.org/trades. I highly recommend going to that and getting some more helpful information. As we know, unemployment rate is soaring. Boomers are aging out and retiring. By 2028, it is expected that there will be over 3 million available skilled trades jobs that offer job satisfaction, great pay, and benefits. I did find an article today, according to an article published on actually May 29th by NAHB Chief Economist Robert Dietz. The latest economic analysis states that the recent momentum in housing markets can be sustained, but it depends on the labor market. Jobless claims continue to be high, but they are slowing. This week's total was 2.1 million, leaving a net count of almost 41 million job losses, which is about 25% of the workforce in just 10 short weeks. However, ongoing unemployment declined from 24.9 million to 21 million, suggesting a suggestion of renewed hiring. So what can be done to reach the communities who could benefit from adding a construction trades curriculum? We have different outreach ideas here. So identify candidate schools, considering its size, demographics, and needs. Connect with your principal, guidance counselor, career and technical education director, teachers. Set up a preliminary meeting to explain your goal. Bring Home Builder Association members to support you. Some other outreach ideas, maybe there is a board member connection. Do you or someone you know the principal or an instructor who teaches technical instruction or something in the career and technical education realm? Maybe you have a contact at your son or daughter's or niece or nephew's school. Has anyone around you been talking about the need to provide an alternative education for those that maybe aren't bound for college? Is there a retired shop space to repurpose again? Is there a nearby home improvement store? So all good things to think about when you are trying to make those outreach efforts. Can the school accommodate a construction trades curriculum? So you're going to want to ask yourself a couple questions. Is there enough physical space available for a shop? What tools does the school maybe have already? And can tools be obtained? Is there funding for curriculum, specifically for curriculum? You know, what is the school's budget? Do they receive donations? Is there HBA support? We want to make sure, obviously, that school administrators are in full support of this effort. We also want to try to match students with HBA members who need workers. Make sure the builders know the HBA is doing this for them. Just to quickly go into some of the costs associated with a license agreement. The license agreement costs per school or school district is $7,500 for the initial license to include one site or school, and $2,000 for each additional site or school. The renewal fee here is, after the first year, is $2,000 per site or school. And I guess just want to end it with the investment will ensure that individuals have an opportunity to learn about meaningful careers that will lead to building a better life. So if you have any questions, I'd love to talk to you more in depth, maybe one-on-one by phone or email. So my contact information is listed on this slide, as well as I will post it in the chat section. Give you a minute to maybe write that down. I've listed our website there, hbi.org. And you can also find us on Facebook and LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube.
Great, thank you, Melissa.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome.
Does anyone have any questions? Okay. So I did want to remind everyone as well that our scholarship committee has extended the deadline for scholarships to July 1st. So you can find the applications online at biaofclarkcounty.org. And there's 2 applications there. One's for the scholarship and one's for a tool grant. And then if there's no other questions for Melissa or Darcy or even Ryan, I will open it up to Al. I know this is kind of on the spot, but if you wanted to talk about some of the statewide efforts that BIAW is doing for workforce, I would invite you to do so.
Sure, I'll be real quick. Again, I'm Al, BIAW. So we, like I said earlier, we've been working with HBI to get some, we have 2 of them that are actually signed up and beginning the training. And we have 2 that are still checking out the process. OSPI, as probably most of you know, started their Career Connect construction program. And we are also advocates of that. We think there is benefits for each one. So we just want you know, the opportunities to be out there for workforce. We don't really, you know, whoever provides it, just make it a good program so these folks can get out there and get jobs. We just made an agreement with AGC of Washington to participate in their educator externship program, which will bring counselors and educators out to job sites. They get CT, continuing education credits for that. So that's kind of a cool partnership we just developed. That's in July. We're also working with Department of Corrections. This is kind of a new thing, so we're kind of exploring right now. It would be, right now it's from the Purdy prison, and so it's female offenders who have showed good behavior, are within 6 months of getting out. We're talking about the HBI program there as well, mostly because they're not all from this state, and so they'd be able to take that that certificate anywhere in the nation. But that's kind of an exciting thing. But, you know, we have challenges trying to, like someone was saying earlier, we need to have jobs for them when they're done. We need, you know, there's a lot that goes into that stuff. But that was the pre-apprenticeship curriculum as well. We've been very active with Habitat for Humanity. One of the things that we did was Peninsula College up in Sequim canceled their classes for the summer. So us and North Peninsula builders got together and funded a program where Habitat got a building. We found an instructor, and they're going to get their 2 days of OSHA training for 8 to 10 of the kids up there, so that, you know, again, they can get on the jobs. And we also have scholarship and grant applications that are available until the 19th of this month, and they're on our website, biw.com. That's the quick version, Andrea.
Perfect. Thanks so much. All right. Well, does anyone have any other questions? If so, feel free to speak up right now or drop it in the little text box to the right. If not, we can go ahead and end. Unless, Ryan, you have something you want to add about government affairs and whatnot. But thank you all for attending.
I don't have anything to add unless someone had a specific question about the COVID response and phase 2 issues.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Really appreciate you're on. Thank you, Darcy and Melissa and Al.
Welcome.
Appreciate your information today.
Thank you for the invite.
Yep, ditto. Bye, everyone. Thanks.
Bye-bye.